Hello, everyone. One of the guys at the Pro Male Collective, Phobiac, showed me this video and he said I might be interested in it. And it's a case where this young man who is dealing with the stress of his job is breaking down. And this armchair warrior who doesn't have to work for a living is going to berate him and give him a hard time over it, right? What's his name? Joey B. Toombs. Okay. So I'm going to do the counterpoint of it, but I just want to check this out and see if Joey here has an easy gig going on.
Anyway, I got to send a thank you to my guys over at ExpressVPN too today for supporting the show.
Well, there you go. This guy is being paid by ExpressVPN to sit on his ass and give his opinion. You have a tough life, sir. Meanwhile, this young guy is going to deal harshly with the public. Right. So we will get into this. No. Let's see, right about, yeah, here.
Equipped to be able to handle the amount of information that comes at us with this social media nonsense and the internet. I mean, like, you see what's happening with this generation. So many of them are lost. So many of them have anxiety.
Dude, who are you talking about? Your own video shows a grown man who suffers from anxiety. Here we are right here.
No.
Then he goes, I take my antidepressants every day.
But I took my antidepressant medication that I take every day.
That's right. Does this guy look like this generation? No, he looks like he's in his late 30s or maybe even mid 40s, somewhere around there. Anxiety hits us all. Just that it wouldn't hit you because, where are you here? Just, they wouldn't hit you because you're a couch potato living the easy life. Oh, don't get me wrong, Joe. I'm glad you don't have to work for a living. I don't want to work for a living. The reason why you're doing this is because you don't want to work for a living. So you have no right to give this young fella a hard time. Okay. But anyway, we'll get back on track.
They don't want to work. They get.
This is bullshit too. They don't want to work. The generation before this guy, Joey B, was saying about him in his generation. Joe, in my day, when I was a boy, teenagers were quitting high school to get a jobs because full-time jobs were available. This generation is underemployed. So if you have a part-time job as a guy, and it doesn't pay your bills, then it's it's worthless working, isn't it? Right.
Get overwhelmed so easy. I mean, I saw this video of this kid he working at Starbucks.
Okay, that's brutal because he's working with the public. I've seen what some hard days for waiters and waitresses, and I just look at them and think I wouldn't want to be one of them because the clientele can be brutal on them. Anyway, when this guy explains, he makes perfect sense why he's like this.
On the verge of tears, or he is crying about just having to work and go to school.
Yeah, work and school are stressful. Dealing with other human beings is stressful. You wouldn't know that right now because it seems like you're just sitting talking to a mic. But everyone has these days where you want to quit your job or you just don't want to deal with it anymore. And he's just having one of those days.
Look at this. It's incredible.
People wonder why we need.
Hold it. Why is this incredible? Of course, if this was a young girl crying this, he wouldn't even have it on there. It's because it's a guy who's showing vulnerability. He has no. But let me show you guys before we go even further with this young fella. Here is a news article. Woman goes postal, kills 6 and then herself. A female and former employee opened fire at a 24-hour postal service sorting facility in Goleta, California, killing 6 people and critically wounded. See, people, I think I have to explain this to a grown man, but people have been known to go on murder sprees from all the stress related to work and the public. So this guy is simply getting teary-eyed, and that's your complaint? That is pretty pathetic.
Need a union at Starbucks, and I am literally about to quit. Like, I don't know if I'm going to do it, but like, I really want to. I almost walked out today.
I've had days like that, young fella. I don't, but hey, I wish I was there to tell you this. I've been there.
And I'm crying in the back room right now, and I almost cried on the floor. It's just, I'm like a full-time student. I get scheduled for 25 hours a week, and then on weekends they schedule me the entire day, open to close. I'm on the schedule for 8.5 hours.
You mean like what everybody has to do?
Really, everybody is a full-time student with a job on top of it. Everybody. Are you everybody? Because it seems like you're just sitting on your ass, giving your opinion into a mic. Stress-free. Being paid by VPN Express. You've got an easy gig, Joey B. And this guy is just having a bad day. You're not allowed to have one bad day?
I'm like 3.5 hours into my shift. There's so many customers, and we have 4 people on the floor all day.
Oh, yeah, I can really understand this. So they don't have enough staff to handle the flow of customers. That's not his fault. So it's basically these, businesses screwing over their employees. And he's right. People do need unions. Workers do need unions.
Only 5 people were put on the schedule, and somebody had to call out. And there are 4 people running the whole store, and there's so many customers, and there's possibly scheduled 5 people.
By the way, that's their phone ringing, as this poor guy is trying to get like 2 seconds by himself.
I mean, what do you expect to do before? How do you expect to make money before you have a career?
What does that have to do with what's going on? He's being treated poorly as an employee. You can work for a living. Look, the job I had, I actually loved my job, the actual working of it. It was basically like grounds maintenance. It was enjoyable, and you get paid for it. What I hated was dealing with people, dealing with the boss and my fellow workers. So this young guy has to deal with his boss, his fellow workers, and the public. So, I mean, come on, dude. Just because you get paid doesn't mean you should go through abuse.
You got to do shitty jobs. You got to do jobs you don't want to do. You're paying your dues. Everybody has to do this. Like, what do they think when they hear about people coming over to America in like the late 1800s on a fucking ship?
What are you going on about? That wasn't your life. Your life right now, from what I see, is sitting on your ass and mouthing off. Come on, dude. You didn't belong to that generation.
And then they got to work on a railroad.
Let me tell you something. What they're doing there, I prefer, personally, to what that young man's doing. I worked one of those menial jobs. The actual work actually felt good. You got tired by the end of the day, so you had sore muscles. So what? It was stress-free. What stressed me out was dealing again with my coworkers and my employer, or should my boss, right? That's why I quit the job after 20 years. I had enough of that. The stress wasn't necessary. That's what is missing from this equation. And this young man, the stress he's going through, it isn't necessary.
Live in a house with no electricity, probably. I mean, it's just...
We only have 13 people employed at this store, and there's so many customers. And they're good.
How do you expect to gain any respect from society being this way?
You mean because he actually broke down, he reached the limit? We all do it, including you, pal.
And why would you film this moment? You know how embarrassing this is?
No, I don't find this embarrassing whatsoever. He's filming it because he's reaching out to people. And he's looking for some sympathy. And if someone did give him sympathy, he'd probably feel better. get up off the floor and go out and put his nose to the grindstone again for minimum wage. Something you don't have to do.
Why would you capture this? What would you like to get out of this? Like,
Well, he already explained. He's talking about unions. He would like to be treated fairly at his job, which he deserves, just like you and me. You know, and he is looking for sympathy. He is reaching out. That's what he's doing.
donations?
You should be the last guy talking about donations. VPN Express guy.
Like a hug? What are you looking for here?
We don't have fair schedule.
I guess this guy wasn't any good at listening to this young fella. Matter of fact, he's just mentioned it. I'm going to back up. He said we don't have fair scheduling. Right. That's.
Why would you capture this? What would you like to get out of this? Like donations? like a hug? What are you looking for here?
We don't have fair scheduling. Managers don't care about us. Our manager was supposed to come in this weekend, and he took himself off the schedule, so he wouldn't be able to be held accountable for calling out. He just literally tore down the schedule that he was scheduled on.
So the manager, who has more responsibility than this guy, who's no doubt an adult, this guy's at least a teenager, you can cut him some slack. The adult didn't want to deal with it and just took a vacation. Yet you're griping at this young guy who has to take up the slack at minimum wage.
And put up a new schedule where he wasn't on the schedule. Also, he couldn't have even seen that he was scheduled in the first place because he didn't want to be held accountable for not wanting to come in.
I mean, this is forever now. This is recorded forever.
I'm like at my wits' end with this job. I really am.
I don't blame you. I've had days like this, young fella. I don't know what your name is. I've been there and I feel for you. There were times I felt like quit my job. Matter of fact, after 20 years of dealing with my first job, I finally had enough of it and I did quit it. So I know where you're coming from.
Anyway, let's get to the fan mail.
Well, that's about it. So this guy here, Joey B. Toombs, I don't know if he has any self-awareness. Like, dude, this young guy who had legitimate gripes, who had a limit and broke down crying, you're going to give him a hard time while you're sitting your lazy ass on an easy chair getting donations from ExpressVPN. God. I mean, like I said, and again, there are people that go postal over the stresses that young guy suffers. And all he did was break down and cry. Dude, you should be embarrassed. What you've put up here is on the internet forever. Like, have some self-respect and remove this video of yours. Thanks.